being here. I'm Rosie with Sew Stitchen Cold, and today's tutorial is going to be on this really cute little crossbody by Easy Sew. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's spelled I-S-Y Sew, as in S-E-W. So I think you pronounce it Easy Sew. I'm not sure. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering it. But she reached out to me to see if I would like to do a video tutorial on her Freedom Trio set. And I accepted. It's a great little bag, and I love the way it turned out. I love the color blocking and the options that you can have to play around with all the different pattern pieces to make the bag super unique. It's called a trio set because there are 3 sizes. There is a small, a medium, and a large. I'm only making the large in the tutorial today. The medium can be made into a crossbody or wristlet, and this small is a wristlet. It's teeny tiny little cute thing. So, but the pattern pieces come together all very similar for the small, medium, and large, so that's why I'm only making the large. I try to explain as we go in the video where things would be different if you're making the small or the medium. But for the most part, a lot of it is the same. The small obviously does not have a gusset like this one does, and the medium has a gusset, the large has a gusset. So let's go over the pattern, or the bag. And isn't that adorable? Such a cute little bag. There's the back, and this is the front. If you have seen pictures of this bag on social media, then you'll know that there is a zippered pocket in this on this front panel. I decided to take that out, and I did it on the inside. None of the bags, the small, medium, or large, have pockets on the inside, and I wanted to change it up and have some pockets on the inside. I like pockets. I did make a decision that I'm not too crazy about on the inside, and that's the slip pocket that I decided to use. It's a slip pocket that I use a lot because I like it, but I use it a lot in bags where you use binding, and my brain was just on, ooh, bound bags, and didn't think it through too well. And my slip pocket on the interior is the exact same slip pocket that's on the back. And I use the exact same thing to use on the inside, but the seams got pretty thick because I used vinyl for my pocket. So I used vinyl and waterproof canvas. It did not turn out great. So definitely don't do that. I do think the style of pocket would be okay if it's just a waterproof canvas, but you might still get some bunching in those seams. So I suggest doing a slip pocket where you sew it onto the lining, where it stays out of your seam allowances so it doesn't bunch up if you do want a slip pocket on the inside. So here's the outside. The front panel is 3 different panel pieces that come together once you sew them together. Super cute, fun color blocking options here. You can do everything the same or make it all completely different, or it's fun. It's fun to play with. The gusset also allows you to play with color, and then the back side allows you to play with color. So here I have the slip pocket, which I have a waterproof canvas lining, and then my flap is the vinyl and waterproof canvas. So the materials I used for this bag are only vinyl, which my exterior is made out of, and waterproof canvas for my lining pieces, and that's it. The only interfacing, if you use a vinyl and waterproof canvas, you will need is your front panel, your back panel, this main back panel piece right here, that is this peachy color, and your gussets, your 3 gusset pieces. That's it. That's all the interfacing you will need if you make this bag out of vinyl and waterproof canvas. If you use lighter fabrics like a cotton canvas or a cotton woven, I do suggest that you interface that with a woven interfacing first, then use your interfacing of choice. The pattern does suggest to use foam or a fusible fleece. I decided to use Decoville because that's my preferred interfacing. I love Decoville. I love the way it makes bags feel and the way that they turn out. Nothing wrong with a fleece or foam. I feel that they have good structure in certain bags. So I do use those interfacings. It just depends on the installation and what I'm using it for. For this bag, I decided to use Decoville Light on my front panel, my back panel, and my side gusset pieces. And on the bottom gusset piece, right here, this bottom piece, I ended up using Decoville Heavy. And that is it. That is all my interfacing in this bag. So let's take a look on the interior of the bag. And this is where I decided to add that slip pocket. See this slip pocket right here? Kind of hard to show, but it bunches up right here. And I don't like it. So right on these, right where your seams are, it bunches up. So the pocket is a bit large, first off, and I used vinyl for it and waterproof canvas. And I think it would have turned out better if I would have used just waterproof canvas for the pocket. I don't know, but I don't know. I feel better if, I think it would be best to do a slip pocket, if you're going to do a slip pocket, that you sew onto the lining that stays out of your seams. Just a suggestion. The zippered pocket turned out good. I do like the way that turned out. And I used the exact pattern piece for that overlay on the inside. And because of the bunching from the slip pocket side, I feel like it just makes it a little bunchy. But if I do a zippered pocket again on the interior of this bag, I will probably make the zippered pocket just a little smaller. So besides my oopsies on the inside because of my choices for a slip pocket, other than that, I really love the way this bag comes out. It's easy to sew, it's easy to follow, super cute little crossbody, although this is the larger size of all three, but it is a good crossbody size for just running errands and needing to just throw a few things in here and run out. Great little summer bag also. Yeah, I love it. I love the way it turned out. Super cute. I'm keeping this one for myself because of the oopsies, because I don't care. But I do plan on making this bag again. I will make my changes, and I do think those will work out. That's the beauty of sewing, and you can experiment, and if you make oopsies, you fix them and try something different. So let's try it on so you can get an idea of what it looks like on, and then we'll get started sewing this bag. All right, so I'm on a step stool. Here's the bag with the crossbody strap. And that's how it looks. It's not super tiny. It's small, but I wouldn't say it's uber tiny, but I think it's a good size. And I really like it. So that's what it looks like on. I am a small framed person. I'm 5'1", and so I feel like it fits me really well. Sometimes some crossbodies can be kind of large, but I do like this bag. I think it's really cute. So the hardware on this bag, this originally is from Mormino. I don't think she carries these anymore. I did order these a long time ago. I had just never used it. And then I did have to use these really large rivets because it did get so thick. I didn't have rivets with posts that were long enough to get through all that. So I did use these 12 mil, I believe, rivets from Camp Snaps. And then my zipper, which perfectly matches this vinyl, is from my website. My zipper pull is from Mormino. And my magnetic snaps that are the riveted magnetic snaps are from Camp Snaps. And my D-rings and swivels, I'm not sure, somewhere. And then what else? Vinyl is from Bodio. The green is from Bodio. I believe this is Bodio also, and this is from Your Vinyl Source. This beautiful, I think, not really watercolor. Maybe it's watercolor. I'm not sure. But this beautiful floral print is from Your Vinyl Source. So that is everything, and so let's get started. Okay, let's get started with going over our pattern pieces. Here I have pattern piece A, pattern piece B, and C. These are the 3 pieces that are going to make up our front panel. So I have not interfaced this panel yet because I haven't sewn it together yet. So once we have it sewn, then we can add our interfacing, which I am doing Decoville Light for my interfacing on this bag. There's not a lot of interfacing, only a few pieces need the interfacing, and I have chosen to use Decoville Light and Decoville Heavy on my base piece. The pattern does suggest to use foam or a fusible fleece. I have chosen Decoville because I really do like the feel of Decoville and how bags turn out with Decoville, so that's what I'm going to use. So interface your bag accordingly. So if you're using a woven fabric, you're going to need to interface that with a woven fuse or some type of woven interfacing first, and then use Decoville or foam or fleece, whatever you choose to interface your bag with, then you interface that. So these are our pieces for our front panel. Here we have pattern piece D, E, and F. So pattern piece D is our back exterior main panel, and I've gone ahead and interfaced that already with my Decoville. And these are the lining pieces. So I have 2 because the front piece will need the lining piece as well. So I just have them put together here. So I have my exterior and 2 lining pieces. And then here I have pattern piece E, which is our back slip pocket. And I've cut 2 of these because on the inside of one of my linings, I am going to do a pocket. This is not part of the pattern, this is just what I'm wanting to do. So on the inside of one of my lining pieces, I'm going to do a pocket, so I cut 2 slip pockets. So if you're wanting to do that, then you'll cut 2, if not, you'll just need 1. So I have 2 exteriors and 2 lining pieces for a slip pocket. And then our F piece is our exterior flap. So I have one of my exterior and one of my lining. Okay, here we have pattern piece G. I don't have H because I'm not doing a medium or small sized bag. I'm doing just the large, and there is no wristlet strap. So if you're doing the medium or small, you will have a pattern piece G, which is your wristlet strap. And then here I have I, which are my D-ring connectors. Sorry, pattern piece G is our zipper tab. Pattern piece I is our D-ring connectors. Pattern piece J, which is my zipper overlay, which I'm not going to be doing on the outside of the bag. I'm going to be doing it on the inside of the bag with an extra zippered pocket that I will be doing on the inside of the bag. I chose to do a slip pocket and a zippered pocket on the inside of the bag because I need pockets, so I'm going to do some pockets. This bag does not have any pockets on the interior, so I've chosen to do a simple slip pocket and a simple zippered pocket, but I'm doing the zipper overlay on the interior and not on the exterior of the bag. I'm not, and this is just preference, I'm not too crazy about the zipper overlay on the exterior, so that's why I've chosen to do that. But I do like the overlay, so I'm going to use it on the inside. And then these are our pattern piece K, which are our zippered pockets. And I have 2 extra because of my zippered pocket on the interior, so I have 4 pieces total. If you're not going to be doing the extra pockets, you'll just have 2. Okay, so here we have pattern piece L M, and N. If you're doing the medium or large bag, you're going to have a gusset piece. And so that's what this piece right here is. So piece L is for the large and medium bags. There is a different size for your medium, but this is what it will look like. And I also have these pieces interfaced with a Decoville light. So I have my exterior pieces interfaced, and then I have 2 pieces for my lining, which my lining is a waterproof canvas. Sorry, I did not mention that earlier. All of my exterior pieces are vinyl, and all of my lining is a waterproof canvas. So then our next piece here is our piece M, and this is for the gusset as well. And this is my bottom piece, and I have 1 piece for my exterior and 1 piece for my lining, and this is also interfaced with Decoville, and this is a Decoville Heavy. This is the only place I use Decoville Heavy is for my bottom piece. And so that is how I've interfaced this bag. That's all the interfacing. If you use a vinyl and waterproof canvas, there's not a lot of interfacing at all. If you use a woven, you'll have a bit more interfacing to do. And then here I have my last piece, which is my strap. If you're doing the large bag, you will have a strap piece. All the other bags do not have a strap, they have a wristlet. So let's move on to the hardware that we'll be needing for this bag. Okay, so here I have 3 zippers, 2 smaller ones and a larger one. The 2 smaller ones are for my pockets. I do have an extra zipper because I'm adding that extra zippered pocket on the interior of the bag. So if you're only going to do the exterior zippers, so the pocket and your zippered opening, you'll only have 2. So 1 smaller, 1 larger. The sizes are in the pattern, so please refer to that. Here I have 3 zipper pulls. I have 2 swivels, 2 D-rings, a slider, some rivets, and a magnetic snap. This will be for the slip pocket on the back side of the bag. And I am going to be using a riveted magnetic snap, which I will use with my Cam Snaps press, which I have the die for. If not, just use a regular magnetic snap and that should work just fine. Here I have some optional things like a strap end, my bag tag, so if you have one, don't forget to grab it, and then 2 woven labels. This one is from Mormino, and this one I ordered from Mormino. It has my logo on it, so it's a custom order. That is what we need. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with our front panel. Grab your 3 front pieces, which is piece A, B, and C. I want to point out that on a lot of the bags and in the pattern itself, it shows this piece being on the left-hand side and this piece being this direction on the right-hand side. So I cut out my pieces using the pattern piece that came with my pattern. So I'm not really sure why a lot of them, because I went back to look at a lot of the photos, and a lot of them are in this direction. My pattern piece is this direction, where the bottom corner is on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side. This is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to flip this guy over here, and this guy will go over here. So this is how it'll look. It's just flip-flopped from what's in the pattern, on the photos on the pattern, and a lot of the pictures that I've seen. But I have seen it in this orientation also. I don't know. So we're just gonna go with this because this is how I cut out my pattern. If you're wondering if you have it in this direction or the other way, just sew it the way that it works. So if you have a pattern piece that gives you this, that's fine. It's the same thing. It'll just be oriented just different. But other than that, they do come together the same way. So just wanted to point that out so there's no confusion. That's why mine is looking like this. It's because of the way my pattern pieces. I don't know if the other pattern pieces are different. I don't know. But this is what we're going to go with. Okay. We're going to have our 3 pieces here, and we're going to work with A and B first. So we're going to put pattern piece C to the side. What we're going to do is that we're going to line up our edges. So there's this little corner piece right here. It's not a straight cut, like right there. So we're going to line this up with this corner right there, which is also on this pattern piece. So right there, just like that, we're going to line up these 2 corners. So you'll need some clips. Clip these together right along that raw edge. And then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so just like that, this is what you should have. Whichever side it is that you're doing on, they're identical. So you could do the same thing on this side. So either way, take this to the machine and sew it at a 3/8 seam allowance. So this is what we have after you've sewn that at a 3/8 seam allowance. So now we're going to open this up and then we're going to flip it over and we are going to open these seams. So you're going to butterfly the seams open. If you're using vinyl like me, it might be a little tougher to keep them open. You can use some double-sided tape, which I'll use some, let's see. So use some double-sided tape to keep the seams open. You can just lay a strip just to help you keep it down while you're at the machine. Peel off the backing if it wants to come off. Alright, so make sure those seams are opened up, and then do the other side. Alright, so if you have your seams butterflied open, this is what you should see. The other side should be nice and straight. So now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch along both sides on each side. So an 1/8 inch on this side and an 1/8 inch on this side. Okay, so this is what it should look like. You should have both sides, so both seams stitched down with a top stitch. Alright, so now we're going to grab our pattern piece C, and yours will either be this direction right side up or to the right side this direction right side up, but you want this piece to be right side up. And now we're going to flip it down, right sides together, along this edge that we've formed, and we're going to line up our ends where these little notches meet right on the ends. So we're going to go like that. See that nice little notch right there. So we're going to line that up, place a clip, line it up along that raw edge. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew at a 3/8 seam allowance down this raw edge, and then we're going to flip it open and butterfly our seams and top stitch both sides of our seams. Alright, so now our top stitching is done. And what we're going to do is that we're going to clip these ends that stick out like that. We're going to clip those off. So you'll need a pair of scissors. Alright, I got my edges clipped, and now what we're going to do is, I'm not going to do this part, but I'm going to kind of explain how you do it if this is how you are wanting to do it, which is the way it is in the pattern. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put my tag here, and I'm going to do my overlay on the inside pocket that I'm planning on doing. So that's how I'm going to be using this overlay. But if you're going to use it, what you're going to do is that you're going to draw your opening on the wrong side. And here I got a little teeny tiny mat and a X-Acto knife. And you're just going to cut open that opening. Carefully just go around I'm getting right to the edge of my mat here, so I'm trying to get it cut around the corner without having to lift it. All right. There you go. So you want to have the cleanest cut possible because you will see this. So I got a little right there, but that one looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up real quick. All right, so now my overlay has a center cut out, and mine's going to go on the inside of the bag, remember. And if you're putting it on the outside of your panel, you'll have your already sewn together panel, and you're going to use some double-sided sticky tape, lay 2 pieces on each side. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flip it over. And if you're doing the medium size bag or the large bag, this overlay will be on both of those. If you're doing the small, go ahead and skip over to, what does it say? Over to step 3 if you're doing just the small bag. But this step is for the large and the medium. And what you'll do is that you're going to position your overlay. If you're doing the medium bag, it's 1.25 inches down from the top, and if you're doing the large bag, it's 1.5 inches down from the top. So let me grab a ruler. Okay, here I have a ruler, and you're going to measure 1.5 inches. This is the large, so this is where this would go. And you're going to center your overlay 1.5 inches down from the top. So this is why I don't like this. I don't know. So it covers the stitching and it goes over those seams, and I don't know, I just don't like the look, so that's why I'm not doing it. So if that's what you're doing, go ahead and place your overlay, and then you're going to stitch your overlay in place. And once you've done that, you're going to trim away this section here for your zipper. And you're going to do that very carefully from the other side, and you don't want to trim more than, you know, more than you need to, but you want to trim away so you can't see it on the front side. I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but I can show it to you on how I do it on the lining. So if you want to go ahead and fast forward to that portion, you'll see how I do it on the lining. It's the same way, it's just going to be on the lining on the inside of the bag rather than the outside of the bag. All right, so let's move on, and I'm going to go ahead and add my bag tag to the front. Okay, here I have my bag tag, and I am going to center my bag tag probably about 1.5 inches down, maybe. I'm going to go 1.25. So I'm going to center my bag tag at 1.25. So if you have a bag tag that's similar to mine and it's square, about 1.25 I think looks really good. And then I'm also going to use my little woven label, and I'm going to sew this on this bottom edge, probably about there. So I'll just clip that on. It'd be nice if I can find a marking tool. Okay, I got a marking tool. Centering my washer. I think my prongs are about here. Then I grab a seam ripper and do small little cuts. You don't want big cuts, just small little cuts. Okay, and I'm going to flip that over, put my washer, and then I'm going to put a piece of tape on this to protect it. I use this Gorilla tape. Wow, it was in my husband's garage. It's pretty sticky. I normally like to steal stuff out of there. So then I place that on there, and that way it protects it from rubbing on the lining. And then I'm going to clip that little portion away also, so there's no bulk right there. All right, so there's my bag tag. And now I'm gonna go ahead and sew on my woven label on the edge here. All right, I got my woven label on, my bag tag, and now my front panel is done. See, I like that a lot. I think that's really cute. All right, so no matter which way you went with, if you did the overlay in the front or if you're gonna do the overlay inside your lining, now I'm gonna do my lining piece and do my zippered pocket on my one lining piece. So if you're wanting to see how the process is, it's the same if you're gonna do it on the exterior portion or inside your bag. So I also said in the beginning of the tutorial how I would need 2 zippers and 4 pocket pieces. I'm only doing 1 zippered pocket, so somehow I thought I needed 2, probably because I'm thinking, oh, the front has one and I'm doing one in the inside, but I'm not doing an extra zippered pocket. I'm just doing the 1 zippered pocket on the inside and none on the outside. So there's only 1 zippered pocket, so correction. Okay, so now I'm going to do my zippered pocket and overlay on the inside of my bag. So I have 1 lining piece, my 2 pocket pieces, which is all you'll need, not the 4, my overlay, my zipper, which I've already attached my pole onto, some double-sided sticky tape, and a pair of scissors. So what we're going to do first is that I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to work on my overlay. Alright, so I'm going to lay some double-sided sticky tape along the edges. I'll probably just center it. That works. I just need it to stay in place. Remove the backing. Alright, so now I'm going to grab a ruler, so I'll need a ruler also. Grab a ruler, and I'm going to use the same measurements she uses for the front pocket. So this is the large, so I'm going to go 1.5 inches down centered. And I'm going to put my overlay right on that center mark. Well, let me find my centers on my overlay to make sure. You don't want to mark your overlay because you'll see it. So I'm just going to crease it to find my center and then lay it down. Okay, so now my overlay is on, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch around the edge, and then we'll come back and we'll cut away the lining away from the center so it reveals and exposes the center portion. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that along the edge, and we'll be back. Alright, so I have that stitched on just along the edge first. So I just went slow around those turns. And now I'm going to pull my threads to the back, so I left my threads long. If you'd like, you can back stitch here if you want to. Okay. So then you just tie your threads off in the back. Alright, so once you have that tied, do about 2 or 3 knots. Let's do one more. Clip the ends off. And then you're going to want to burn just the ends, not the knot, just the ends, to keep it from fraying. Okay. And then that gives you a nice clean stitch all the way around without any back stitching. Alright, so now I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to cut away at this lining, making sure not to cut through my stitches. So I want to go far enough that we don't see the lining on the other side, but not too far that we cut through our stitches. So I'll probably just start from the front, use my seam ripper to give myself a starting point, and then cut through, and I'll just go past that just by a little bit. And then if you have scissors for embroidery. They're like the curved looking scissors. That would come in very handy right here. But it doesn't need to be pretty. Just cut away. So see how we're cutting away, and I can see my overlay on the other side of my lining. This is what you want to see. So you don't want to cut too much that you're cutting into your stitches, and you want to cut enough that you don't see the lining on the other side. Or the exterior if you're doing this on the exterior. So it's the same process. Okay, so this is what it should look like. We have that center portion cut out. And then in the front, you cannot see it. So that's what we want. Making sure that we don't cut through our stitches. All right, so this is done for the moment. We're going to set that aside. All right, so now grab your 2 pocket pieces and your zipper. So I'm going to put one of my pocket pieces aside, and I'm going to grab my zipper, and I'm going to lay it right side up, right on top of my pocket piece, which is also right side up. So right side up, lay your zipper down along the top edge. And then you could lay some double-sided sticky tape along this edge to help line that up, which I'll go ahead and do. This is not in the pattern, but I feel like it helps. You don't need to do this, you could just use clips. Alright, so I'll remove the backing and then line up the edge of my zipper tape with the edge of that pocket piece. Alright, so now I have that lined up, and now we're going to go stitch this on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance along the top. Alright, that's now stitched along the top, just like that, and my zipper was a little bit longer than I needed, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim that away now, and I'm going to burn my ends real quick also to keep from fraying. So now we grab our other pocket piece, and we want to flip this around. So now you have this edge. So this is what we have, and you want to grab it and lift it, turn it around, and your other pocket piece is right side up. And we're going to lay this edge along this edge. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with my double-sided sticky tape. Take the backing off and line this up along the edge. All right, and then we'll go do the same thing at the sewing machine and sew along this edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so this is what you should have. So you have, now when you flip this open and your zipper's in the middle, your zipper pulls, so you're looking at the right side of your zipper, you'll be looking at the wrong sides of your pockets. So these are our wrong sides of our pockets, and if you flip it over, these are the right sides of our pockets, the wrong side of our zipper. That is what you should see. So again, another portion not in the pattern. I'm just doing this because this is how I like to do these kind of pockets. I'm going to flip the seam over towards the pocket. So there's that seam right there. So see how they stick up kind of like that? I am going to flip this down and press these seams together, and then I'm going to go top stitch so these seams lay flat. Not necessary, you don't need to do that. I'm just going to do that because that's just how I like to do it. So if you want to give it a try, go ahead and lay these seams flat up against, so you want to lay these seams towards the pocket pieces and turn it around and top stitch them flat. Alright, so now my pocket is stitched down, and this is why I like to do this, because now these seams lay nice and flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double-sided sticky tape along this top edge with my zipper facing up. You'll be seeing the wrong sides of your pockets. I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm going to peel off the backing. Okay, peel off the backing off both sides. All right, once you have that, grab your piece with your overlay, and we're going to center this the best we can. So having the zipper lay flat is very helpful in my opinion. So I'm going to try to grab my zipper pull and pull that through. And I'm going to lay this as straight as possible and centered. Okay, I think that looks good. And now we're going to take this to the machine and we are going to stitch on this inner portion along the zipper at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we're going to stitch along this inner portion. And then you want to make sure that when you're doing that, that your pockets are laid out flat. So away. We're going to go ahead and take this to the machine and go stitch that down. Alright, so I've got that sewn on. I went all the way around and I went very slow. I hand cranked around these turns, so I had nice turns. I don't trust myself to just sew through those and get nice turns, so I hand cranked it. So then at the machine I already pulled through my first top thread, and now I'm going to pull the next one through. Clip the excess threads away. Burn your ends. And now we have a pretty little pocket. Alright, so now we're going to close up our pocket. So we're going to take our top portion and we're going to fold it down. And it is going to be shorter than the other side. That's fine. We'll just trim that off. I'm going to place some clips. And everything lays nice and flat by doing that top stitching on that pocket and zipper. Not a necessary part. I just feel like it kind of fights you a little bit if you don't. All right, and now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to stitch this closed, and we're going to go from this top portion, this top section, go down across the bottom and back to the top, and we're going to pull away our lining or your exterior, whatever you're doing this on. And here's where the double-sided sticky tape kind of holds on, but just go ahead and clip it away. Alright, so I'm going to take this to the machine. I'm going to flip my lining away, and we're going to stitch this pocket closed, going in a U shape. Go all the way around, flipping our front portion, which is my lining in this case, away. Alright, our pocket is now done, and I'm going to go ahead and trim away this portion, even with the other pocket piece. And our pocket is now done. So we're going to set this aside and move on to the next step. Alright, so in this step you're going to need your flap pieces, your exterior and your lining, and your slip pockets, which will be your exterior and your lining, and your magnetic snaps. Since I am going to be doing riveted magnetic snaps, I'm going to go through both layers on both. So then this little portion will be on the back side, and then the rivet will be like, so it'll be like this, but both pieces will be together. I'll show you, it's a little confusing. But if you're going to do just a regular magnetic install, so you're going to do it on your lining piece, so your male will go on your lining for your flap, and then your female piece will be on your exterior flap. So you'll do the magnetic install before you sew everything together. I'm going to sew everything together first, then install my snaps because I'm doing riveted snaps. So it's basically the same thing, but if you're doing a regular magnetic snap, which has the prongs, you'll do the male portion, which would have prongs on the backside, and you're going to install that on your lining piece for your flap, and it'll be 1 inch from the bottom centered. Okay, and then you're going to install your magnetic snap female side to the exterior portion of your slip pocket, and there are different sizes, different measurements that you'll use depending on which size bag you're doing, because this portion is for all 3 sizes. So just refer to your pattern on where you would place your female portion on your exterior slip pocket. All right, so now I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it because of using riveted magnetic snaps. So I'm going to move these aside and work with my flap first. And what we're going to do is that we're going to place these right sides together. So if you're doing the other magnetic snap, once you have installed your magnetic snaps, you'll follow these steps. So you will put your flaps right sides together, and we're going to clip that in place. And then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew it at a 3/8 seam allowance. And we're going to go from one top edge all the way around up to the other top edge. And you don't want to sew across the top. Leave the top open. So let's take this to the machine, 3/8 seam allowance. Alright, so I've sewn that all the way around. I went slow around my curve, so I made sure I had a nice curved stitch. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to use my pinking shears to trim down the seam allowance, so I have a nice curve, which pinking shears really help. So if you have a pair of pinking shears, go ahead and do this portion to help. That's what I have. And now we're going to turn this right side out. Okay, once you have that turned right side out, make sure you press that seam really well. So if you have fabrics that you can use an iron on, that would be very helpful here. But since I do not, I'm going to just roll these out the best I can and try to flatten out that seam and press it. And I might be able to press this from the other side because it's the right side of my waterproof canvas, so I'll probably do that just to help flatten it out a little bit more before we go and top stitch this. So once you have it nice and flat and your seams are nice and flat, go ahead and top stitch from the top edge all the way around to your other top edge, and do not close this top portion. And you'll want to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. My flap is now top stitched. And then this is what you should have with your magnetic snap already on your lining side. So since I'm doing the riveted one, I will install my snap with these two already sewn together. So it's basically the same thing. You'll just be installing your magnetic snap before I do, and you'll be doing it on the lining piece on your flap and the exterior piece on your slip pocket. I just want to make sure that that step doesn't get missed. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew my slip pockets together before I go and do all of my magnetic snaps. So right sides together, and we're going to clip these at the top raw edge. And then we're going to go sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance right along this top curve. Alright, once you have that sewn across the top edge, I'm going to go ahead and flip these wrong sides together and press these seams together. Again, if you have materials that you can iron, that would be good right now. I'm going to go ahead and iron mine from the lining side just to give it a nice press. I'll use some clips to help me get this flattened out. If you don't feel like you need to use an iron, that's fine too. You can just finger press this and go to the machine and top stitch along this edge at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, so I've gone ahead and top stitched my slip pocket, and now I'm going to install my magnetic snaps. So here I have dies for my cam snaps press. I ordered all of this stuff together. And then, so this is an 18 mil. I also have 14 mil. I thought it was a little small for this project, so I'm doing the 18. So here is a die for the female portion, which will go that way, which is probably gonna get stuck in there. No, okay. And then the other one is for the male portion, which fits perfectly in there. So now what we're going to do is that I'm going to use my owl piercer first. So I'm going to put that on. So it comes with this little owl piercer thing. Make my holes. If I had another press, that would be nice. So this just stays on there all the time. I will get there eventually and get another press. Things are very expensive to ship to Alaska right now. So one day. All right, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make my markings. So I'm going to start with my little flap here, and we want to go 1 inch from the bottom curve. So I'm going to find my centers first to help with that. And just kind of finger press it to just kind of give myself an idea where that center is. I'm going to go 1 inch from the bottom, centered. Place a mark right there. It looks about right. And then I'm going to pierce it right on that mark. So I'm going to lay that there, and right as I come down, I'm going to line up the piercing portion along with that hole and press down. Alright, so now I have my hole. And now I'm going to insert the male on the other side. So it goes in from the lining side, and now I have the little post that sticks out the front, and then that's where you put your little cap. So you snap that on, and now I will switch out my owl piercer for the cap thing. So it goes on the top. And then place, what's this, the male, so then the female one. And snug that right in there nice. And press down. And just like that, you have a really cute magnetic snap. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing on my slip pocket. Alright, so according to the pattern for the large, all the different sizes have obviously different measurements. So I'm doing the large, and it says 4.5 from the bottom. It seems pretty high up there, but we'll go with it. So I'm gonna find my centers by just giving it a press. And then I'm gonna go 4.5 from the bottom on that center line. Make my mark. Yeah, that seems way up there, but all right, so I'm gonna find my little holes, switch my dies over to the owl piercer. Well, I could just I'm gonna do that by hand actually. So now I don't have to undo this. So just switch out that portion. Grab my little hand puncher. Alright, so I have my hole there, if you can see it. And then install the female portion from the other side, the lining side. And then flip it over. Install my little cap. And then place it in there so it's nice and straight. It sits in there nicely, it's magnetic, so. There we go. And then press down. Remove my, there we go. Alright, so there is my installed magnetic snap and cute little rivet portion there, which I think is really cute. Alright, so I did that backwards. Lordy bee. I'm gonna have to take that off. We'll redo it. Alright, let's do that again. I removed it, which is pretty simple. I just grab a pair of pliers and kind of snip away at it and it comes right off. So this portion's on the exterior. I don't know how many times I said that and still said it wrong. This portion, their little rivet cap, goes on the other side. So let's do that one more time. Make sure that sits in there nicely and press down. There we are. That's the way it should look. So then when this folds down, that fits nicely right there. That's pretty cute. All right. So let's move on to the next step. So now we're going to work on our connectors. The pattern calls for a 3/4 inch D-ring, but I only have 1 inch at the moment, so we're going to do 1 inch. So I cut my connectors a little bit wider so I'm able to accommodate the 1 inch D-rings. So now I'm going to draw a line down the center, and this will be the same way if you're doing the 3/4, same thing, just mine are a little bigger. So I'm going to draw a line down the center. On both. Alright, and then I'm going to use some double-sided sticky tape. I'll do a 1/4 inch double-sided sticky tape and place that down the center where I drew that line. Remove the backing. And we're going to fold in our edges towards that center line. Leaving just a teeny tiny little gap. So when you fold this over, it has room to fold. So just like that. And do that to both sides. Alright, and so now we're going to take these two straps and we're going to top stitch along both sides that we've folded in, so along this edge, and these two edges at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Alright, so I've gone ahead and done my connectors. I did do my connectors just a little differently. I went in a 1/4 inch from the edge rather than the 1/8 inch from the edge. I just wanted a different look, so I did a 1/4 inch. So if you noticed me doing it a little bit differently while I was sewing, that would be why. I just wanted a different look. So now you're going to grab your front main panel and your back main panel. So if you're doing the interfacing where it's the foam, you will have no interfacing on the back side yet of either piece. So here I have my Decoville that I need to still add to my front panel. I already went and attached it to my back panel. I'm not doing foam, but if you are doing foam, you are going to have this pattern piece right here. And for the front panel, so the back panel, you'll just have the full piece. The front panel, you will cut out this section, and that's the window for your zippered panel, that for your front zipper that's going to be right here with the zipper overlay. So you'll cut out this section so you won't have any foam there, and that's where your pocket will be. So if you're doing the front pocket on your front panel, make sure that this is cut out of your foam piece, and then you'll be attaching your foam piece and you'll have a pocket that's sticking out back here. So you'll feed that through the hole and attach your foam. You can either tape it down with double-sided sticky tape, or you can glue it down. So that is that option. So I did not do that. I'm doing Decoville. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my Decoville. And all I did was use the same pattern piece to cut my Decoville. So it'll be a 1/2 inch out of my seam allowances. So I'll go ahead and attach that now, and then we'll be back. All right, so I've gone ahead and attached my Decoville to the back of my front panel. I did melt the vinyl just a little bit because it's sticking out here. So my iron got it, but this is the back side, so it doesn't matter. It's there. So now what we're gonna do, so you'll have foam if you're using foam or fleece or whatever you're using. Go ahead and get that all interfaced now. And then if you are doing the small bag, what you will do is that you'll have your one strap connector, so you only have one and one D-ring. So you'll thread that through around the bar, and then you'll have your 2 raw ends meet like that. And then you'll attach it according to where it says in the pattern, which looks like it's about right here or so. And you're gonna attach that right there, and you're gonna baste it on. So you're gonna have raw edge to raw edge. Your D-ring is gonna be facing inward, and you will attach it right here by basting it on. So if you're doing the small bag, that's what you'll do, and that's for your wristlet. If you're doing the medium and the large, or one or the other, you will have 2 strap connectors. If you're going to do the medium as a crossbody or the medium as a wristlet, that is up to you on how you would like to do that. So if you're going to do the wristlet, you'll have just a one. You'll attach it to the bag the same way as you'll attach it to the large bag. And if you're doing a crossbody, you'll have 2. So with the large bag, I don't suggest doing a wristlet. It's too large of a size for just a wristlet, so it is a crossbody option, but you know, up to you, you do you. So we're doing the large and we're going to do the crossbody. So we're going to be working on our panels here, and we'll have our 2 strap connectors and 2 D-rings. All right, so let's grab our connectors, move these to a side for now, and we're going to flip them wrong sides up. I'm going to grab a ruler, and we're going to measure 1 inch from the bottom on both of them. So I'm going to do 1 inch from the bottom. We're going to make a mark. And then we're going to measure 1 1/4 from the bottom, which I need a bigger ruler for. So then 1 1/4 and make a mark. Move these aside and grab your front and back panel. So we'll do one at a time. So then what we're gonna do is on the right side of both exteriors, we are going to mark a 1 1/4 inch from the top and 1 inch in, and we're doing a 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so we're gonna mark our lines for where our connectors are going to go, and you want to be 1 1/4 inches down and 1 inch in. So 1 1/4 and 1 inch in would be about there. And I'm drawing a 1/2 inch line from there. So from that edge, so this is my 1 inch edge, we're going to draw a 1/2 inch line. So from here to here, that's a 1/2 inch. So that's where our slits are going to go. So we do that on both the back panel and the front panel on the left-hand side. All right, so let's mark the same way on the front panel. So we want 1 1/4 down from the edge. It's about 1 1/4, 1 inch in, and then, so that's 1 inch from the end of this little ruler. And then I'm using this ruler to find my 1/2 inch mark. So just like that, because this ruler is 1 inch wide. So now I have my markings. And now we're going to cut into these, and we're not going to go past this side and that side. So exactly in a 1/2 inch, and if it's a little slightly smaller, that is even better. So let's cut those and just go slow. Oh, and mine are probably going to have to be a little wider, actually, because I have 1 inch D-rings. So hold on. So if you're doing 3/4, 1/2 inch for you. So I'm probably going to need a 3/4 inch slit. So I'll go ahead and just make that slit a little bit larger because I'm using 1 inch hardware. All right, so that's what you should have. And I used a vinyl marking pen, so these markings will come off. So I'll go ahead and grab a baby wipe and clean those off now. All right, here I got a baby wipe, and that should wipe right off just like that. So you want to use a marking tool that you can wipe off or will come off somehow, depending on what fabric you're using. There we go. And I get these vinyl marking pens from Mormino. They're great. They work really well on vinyl. All right, so now let's move on. Okay, now grab your connectors. We'll start with one. And we have those markings. One is 1 inch from the bottom, and the other one is 1 1/4 inches from the bottom. So we're going to insert this connector through, we'll do on the back panel first, through the slit up to the 1 inch mark first. So we're gonna slip that through there, and it will be snug. You want it to be snug. And we're gonna go right up to that 1 inch mark, okay? So just like that. And then we're going to use this other marking that we made. It's hard to see, sorry, there you go. This other marking, which is 1 1/4 up from the bottom, and that's where we're going to stitch our line. So we're going to stitch across that. So we have the connector in up to that 1 inch mark, and then we are going to stitch along the second mark. So we'll do that again on the front panel. Grab your connector. You have your two markings. So one is up from the bottom 1 inch, and then the second line is 1 1/4 inches from the bottom. So we're going to insert it wrong side up where you can see your markings through the slit. All right, and then we're going to pull this through up until it meets the 1 inch mark that we made, the first mark, just like that. And then we are going to go to the machine and we're going to stitch across the second mark that we see right here, which is 1 1/4 from the bottom, across that. And we're not going to go any further than from here to here. So don't go on to the panel itself. So you're going to start right on the edge here where that marking is, and then you're going to stitch across and do not go off of the connector. And we're going to stitch where you can see this line and your connector is facing up. So you'll see the wrong side of your connector facing up. And we're going to sew this down along that mark that we made on both panels. I have those stitched down just like that. I'm using really light thread so it's hard to see. There you go. And so now we're going to thread through our D-rings. So we're gonna thread that one through, thread that one through. And so now what we're going to do, I'll use the back side first. We're going to grab the end of our connector and we're gonna feed it back through that slit. So we grab it here and we're gonna push it right back through there. We're gonna push it to the back and you're going to pull it from the other side. And you want to pull as tight as you possibly can without ripping your stitches, but nice and snug. So this is what you should have. And then on the pattern it says to sew about 1/4 inch away from this edge. I would say if you're going to do it this way, about 1/8 of an inch. You want to be as close as possible without hitting your connector, but sew it as close as you possibly can right along this edge. And you don't want to go any wider than what your connector is. So I'm using an inch connector. I don't want to go more than 1 inch. If you're using a 3/4 inch, you don't want to go more than 3/4 inches. So use your connector as a guide, and you want to sew from this end to this end. And you want to back stitch at the beginning and end very well. How I'm going to do it is that I'm going to do it from the back side. So this is what we have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these up to the front, up to the top. So this is the top portion. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it out of the way. So then I've got this, right? And I'm going to sew along here, not down here, but along this edge, right along there, as close as I can. So I'm going to switch out to a zipper foot. And I'm going to sew it here. And the reason why I'm going to do that is so you don't see my stitching in the front. So you can either do it this way, and what you do is that you just pull everything out of the way, and you want to have your connector straps out the top, and you're going to sew across here. And I'm going to do that on both. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm sewing across this bottom edge. So this is what we have, right? And then I'm going to flip this up, flip all of it back, and we're going to be left with this right here. So I'm cutting these tiny, tiny little slits right here just to give me something to grab onto. Like that. I don't know if you can see that or not. Tiny little slits. So then I'm going to sew right along here. I'm going to do that on both of them. Alright, so I've gone ahead and sewn those on. So that's what it looks like. And if these slits were cut the way that they should be cut for sewing it like this, it would have been a little easier, but that's okay. I just made my own little slits and it works. So what I'm going to do now, if you did it the other way, you're done. Or if you did it this way, you can be done. But I want to add some rivets here to give it more strength. So I'm going to do one rivet right here and one rivet right here. So I'm going to grab a ruler and a marking pen. And I'm going to find the center of my connector. And I think that's good. Maybe just a little bit lower. And this is completely all just something I want to do. It's not in the pattern. And since I am doing the slits just a little bit differently, I like to add rivets when I do hidden connectors like this, just to give it more strength. And so that's where I have that one. I'm gonna do the same on the other one. So I have those now marked. I'm gonna go ahead and pierce those now with my owl piercer. All right, I have my holes done, and now I'm gonna insert rivets. I'm gonna insert one through there. Place the cap. Do the same on the other one. And then I'll switch out my dies and set my rivets. All right, my rivets are now set, and see how cute that looks? I just think it gives it a much better look and a better polished finish. So if you want to do your hidden connectors that way, go ahead. If not, the way that they're written in the pattern is perfectly fine also. It's a little quicker, a little bit easier, just a little bit, but it's a little bit quicker. But if you put in some time, you can do a little bit more of a polished finish like this. All right, so now we are done with our front and back panels. Let's move on to the next step. All right, so for this step, we're going to be needing our back panel, our front slip pocket, and our flap. So let's work on our back panel first, and we're going to find our centers. If you haven't done so already, I just clip these tiny little slits into the seam allowance. Find my center on here. Centers on our slip pocket. All right. And now we are going to center our flap along with the center of the back panel and putting our raw edges together. And then we're going to place a clip, and I'm going to go ahead and baste this on, and then we'll be back and add our slip pocket. And this step is the same for all three bags, small, medium, and large. So let's go baste the flap onto our back panel. All right, we have that basted, and now we're going to grab our flap, or sorry, our slip pocket, match our centers and our raw edges. Place a clip. Make sure your snap flap here fits perfectly, and it does. Look at that, that is so cute. And we're going to clip this, and then we're going to go baste this as well all the way around. All right, so let's take this machine and baste from this edge to this edge all the way around. All right, I have my pocket now basted all the way around. And now I'm going to trim down just part of this pocket here where it's just a little wider. So let's move on to the next step. Since I am doing a slip pocket on my interior, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So if you're doing the same thing, then grab your remaining slip pocket lining and well, I have an exterior and lining for my lining. But whatever you choose for your slip pocket, and your remaining interior lining piece. So we're going to go ahead and do right sides together. And again, this is not part of the pattern. It's just what I'm doing extra because I like pockets. I wanted to add some pockets to the interior. If you're doing the small and medium, I can see maybe not adding pockets to those, but I feel this is a good size bag for the large that it could use some pockets. So that's what I'm doing. All right, so I have those clipped together, right sides together, and we're gonna go ahead and top stitch, well, sorry, we're gonna stitch this at a 3/8 seam allowance all the way around. All right, I have that stitched, so now we're going to flip these over, and we're gonna go wrong sides together. We're gonna press the seam really well. If you want to use your iron, go ahead and do so. Go ahead and press these open. I like to show a little bit of the lining, so I purposely kind of roll the lining up just a little bit. I don't know, I think it gives it a little bit of a, like a little bit of a border or something. I don't know. I've always liked that look, so that's what I always do. If you do not want to see the lining, make sure you roll the lining to the back. So if you don't want to see the lining, you'd have it like this. All right, there you go. And there's the lining, so you'd roll it to the back. But I like to see the lining most of the time, so I do it like that. All right, here we go. And now we're gonna top stitch along this edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, I have that top stitched, and now I'm gonna clip these little edges off that it forms because it is at a curve. Oops, sorry, there we go. So I'm gonna just clip those away. Now I'm gonna find my centers on my slip pocket and on my lining piece here. All right, I have my centers. Now I'm gonna line up my bottom center and raw edges. We're gonna clip this and baste it on. All right, my interior slip pocket is now done, and now we're gonna move on to the next step, which is preparing our gusset. All right, here I have my gusset pieces. I have my 2 exteriors and bottom base panel, and then my lining. So we're gonna set the linings aside for now, and we're gonna work with our exteriors. So with our base facing up and already stabilized, so make sure that your bases and your side pieces, your side gusset pieces are already stabilized. So my side pieces are stabilized with a Decaville light, and then my bottom piece is a Decaville heavy. I wanted just a little bit more structure on the bottom piece. So we're gonna lay one of our gusset pieces along the short edge, matching our raw edges, and we're gonna clip. Do the same on the other end and clip. And then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to sew this at a 3/8 seam allowance. All right, we have that stitched, and now we're going to open this up and we're going to finger press these. We're going to flip them over and we're going to open up the seams just like we did on our front panel. We're going to open up these seams. And if it helps, use some double-sided tape to keep these seams open like this, and we're going to flip it over and we're going to top stitch on both sides. So one down this way and one down this way at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. We're going to top stitch both of these seams open. Alright, so those are now top stitched, and now we're going to repeat the same process on our lining. Alright, I have my lining complete and my exterior, and we're going to set these aside, and we're going to grab our zipper and our zipper tab, and we're going to finish that portion, and then the bag is going to get put together. So we're almost there. Okay, so grab your zipper, make sure your zipper pull is already on, a ruler, a marking tool, your zipper tab, a lighter, and some clips. So what we're going to do first is that I'm going to burn my ends on my zipper tape. And then I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch in from the top end. So I want my zipper closing to the left. Closing to the left, opening to the right. So this is the front part of my zipper. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch, make a mark, and then we are going to grab our zipper tab and we're going to draw a line lengthwise. So this is lengthwise, this is a short end, so this is my long end. So we're going to draw a line down the middle. Okay, so draw your line. Oh, you'll need some double-sided sticky tape as well. Place your tape down the middle. remove your backing and bring your ends, your raw edges, the long ones, to the middle, both ends. If you're using cotton for this, and you can use a iron and get some nice crisp lines. So there we go, we have that. Our ends are folded to the middle. And now we are going to set that aside, and we're going to open up our zipper right where we made those marks. So I'm going to open our zipper, and then I'm going to pinch right where those lines are. So I'm going to pinch right at that halfway mark. So that should be right at the line. And I'm going to take this bottom part and I'm going to flip it up. So we're creating a 90. So just like that. Creating a 90 right at that mark. You can place a clip here or burn the ends like I'm about to do. Not burn my fingers while I'm at it. Maybe I'm not getting it hot enough or something. I don't know. I'm burning these ends. There we go. Just gotta get it hot enough. So do the same on the other end. So right where that line is, we're gonna pinch right at the line, just like that. And then with our finger, we're gonna bring this bottom side underneath, creating a 90, just like that. And then I'm gonna clip this little piece away and burn, or you can clip. And then we're gonna go baste this at the machine. So that's what you should have. Your zipper will now fall off because my burns are not staying. So we're gonna just clip it. All right, so I have those clipped. And now on this end, so this is the front end of my zipper, because I want my zipper closing to the left, opening to the right. So on this end is where I'm gonna put my zipper tab. So we have it folded in half, so we're gonna take it and flip it wrong side up, place our zipper tape right in that crease centered, and we're gonna fold over our zipper tape and place a few clips to hold it in place. And we're gonna go top stitch this zipper tab at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from this edge, and then we're gonna baste down these little pieces right here, right along the edge. You just baste them down to hold them, but since my burning is not working, so we'll just baste those on, and then that way your zipper won't fly off. Alright, so I've gone ahead and sewn that on. Originally I did not catch the back at all, so I had to redo it. So now we're going to grab a pair of scissors and cut off these ends. And our zipper is now done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the rest of our bag and start putting it together. And I think I need to work on my strap. I haven't done the strap yet because I am doing the crossbody. So I'm gonna grab the strap, we'll do that next, then we'll put the bag together. Okay, so here I have my strap and some double-sided tape. I've already gone ahead and marked my center for my strap, so if you haven't done so already, go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna lay some 1/2 inch double-sided sticky tape all the way down the center of this strap. And now I'm going to remove the backing. All right, I've removed the backing, and now I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to start bringing my raw edges up to that line, and I'm going to leave a small gap. So just do this all the way down. All right, I've got my edges folded to the center. If you are using a cotton woven, or like a cotton canvas or something that you can iron, that would make this process a little bit easier, and don't need to use a double-sided sticky tape. But if your machine can handle it, that's the easiest way to do it with vinyl, is to lay a strip of double-sided sticky tape and bring your edges to the center. So now we're gonna fold our ends. I just dropped something over there. And now I'm going to place some clips to hold that. We're just folding down the center, hiding that raw edge. And I'm making a 1-inch strap. Okay, so I've gotten that all clipped. And now I'm gonna take this to the machine and I'm gonna sew down the clipped edge first where it's open. And we're gonna sew that 1/8 of an inch seam allowance from this side, go all the way down. And then when you get to this side, you do the same thing, another 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down this side. All right, here's my finished strap. This is a lot thicker vinyl than I was anticipating it to be. So once I have it all folded, it's kind of thick. It has kind of like a fleece backing or something. So I'm not sure if my strap ends are going to work because they're on just a regular thinner strap end. So I'm probably going to cut some of that out to make my strap ends work. And then I had to switch out my hardware to a wide mouth slider, which I got a long time ago from More Me Know. I don't think she carries these ones anymore, but she does carry wide mouth sliders if you need them. So for really, really thick vinyl, these are very nice. So I switched out to a wide mouth because this vinyl is so thick that I needed to switch out. So I'm going with that. And then I went with a little bit chunkier of a swivel also. So we're gonna slide our slider on one end, and then we're gonna make sure that our strap is straight, nice and straight, and I'm gonna put one swivel on this end facing up. So swivel up, and we're gonna turn this edge down by about 1.5 inches or so. This really thick vinyl, I'm going to do at least 1.5 inches. You can do as much as you want. I mean, that's kind of up to you. Place a clip. And I'm not even sure my rivet is going to be able to go through all that. We'll see. All right, so that's one end. And then we're going to go all the way to the other end, making sure our strap stays nice and straight. Grab the other swivel hook facing upward. So your swivel should be facing up just like that. And then we're going to slide that in. So making sure your strap's nice and straight. I'm going to grab this end of my strap, making sure it's nice and straight. And I'm going to feed it through the bottom. So I'm going to move my vinyl upward. This vinyl's like giving me a little bit of a fight. All right, so I'm gonna grab this end, and down from this bottom, I'm gonna go up over that bar. And I'm gonna try to pull down on this one to see if it'll bring it through, and it did. There we go. Okay, so now I have this. So we have this end with our swivel, the end, which is the end that we just brought through underneath the bar, and then we have this end with our swivel. Okay, so the end that we just passed through the bar, you want to grab and wrap around the bar. So you can see there that it's wrapped around the bar, the end that we brought through. Everything is nice and straight. Okay, and that's the end that you're going to attach it to. It's the same end that you brought through, you're going to attach it to itself. And then this end is the end that adjusts. So you want to make sure that you can move this part of your slider. Okay, so I'm going to place a clip here, and I'm going to see if my rivets are going to work. They might not. I might have to go with longer, bigger ones. That might work. So I'm going to grab some rivets, and I'm going to do 2 rivets on this one, 2 rivets on this one, and then probably sew the ends down. So, and then our strap is done. Okay, so I found some rivets. I got the longest ones I have. These are from Cam Snaps. And I don't know what mill they are. I'm sorry. I just don't. But those are the longest ones I have. And they're a little bigger than the other ones. I do like the smaller ones better. But I need longer posts, and my smaller ones don't have as long of a post to get through all this vinyl. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start on this end, and I'm going to, I pulled through about 2 inches or so from the end there. Yeah, so it's about 2 inches. So I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch from the edge and mark where I'm going to put my rivets. It just gives me a visual of where I'm going to do it. I'm eyeballing it ish. Grab a marking tool. So we're going to do that, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. All right, so I'm gonna do 5/8 from the top, 5/8 from the bottom, and I have about 2 inches of strap here. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, here I have my press. I'm just gonna use the owl tool to make my holes, line those up. Almost did not go all the way through. And these are 12 mil rivets, because I do have my, oh, those are big. This works. Anyway, I have my my dies, they're labeled. So this says it's a 12 mil die, so I'm assuming this is a 12 mil rivet because it fits perfectly. Okay. I think this is going to work. All right, so I'm gonna set those to make sure that it all works out. So I'm gonna take my piercer out, set my 12 mil die. All right, those worked. All right, good. That was a lot of material to go through. All right, so now the same thing on the other end. My strap is now done. So this is the end of my strap with my 2 giant rivets. The slider and the other end of our strap. And then this is how it adjusts right through here. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna go grab the rest of our pattern pieces that we have assembled, and now we put the bag together. And then I'll add these end straps later. I'll do this off camera. All right, so let's move on. Now we are in final assembly of the bag. So here I have my exterior panels, my lining panels, zipper, gusset, except for the strap. The strap's just aside because we won't be needing it. So what we're gonna start off with is our front panels and our gusset. So I'm gonna grab my front panel and set aside everything else because we'll be working on that later, and my exterior gusset piece. All right, so what we're gonna do is that we're going to have our front panel facing up, right side up, and then our gusset piece, we're gonna turn that this direction. So right sides together, we're gonna line up this bottom portion on our center marks. So if you haven't marked your centers, go ahead and do so. And so I'm gonna line those up, and we're gonna need some clips. And we're gonna start clipping. So now, so I got that clipped right there. So it's right sides together. And now we're going to ease this corner in. So the best way I found to do this is to just kind of start in one corner and just go around. So I'm placing a clip, going around, placing a clip. And if you need to cut into those corners to help you, sorry about that. My tongue's barking at something. Just a minute. Okay, I'm back. She thinks she's tough. All right, so we keep just going around little by little. I find it helpful to just use a lot of clips. And I'm just clipping away. Orange one, it throws it off. I don't like it. All right. So then you do the same around the other corner. So I just go slowly and I start on one end, clip, just kind of curve your front panel in to that gusset. And then just keep clipping. I'm gonna throw that orange one away. It's not glittery and pretty. Like, ooh. Yeah, everything must be pretty. All right, so now my gusset is clipped all the way around. And now we're gonna go to the machine and we're gonna stitch this down at a 3/8 seam allowance. And I think I'm going to do it this direction, where I have it under the needle like this and go around. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna do it. All right, so let's go get this stitched down and we'll move on. She refuses to move. Oh, turkey butt. All right, here's our gusset sewn on. I did do a second row of stitching off camera, mainly because my dog will not get off of my sewing table. She's refusing, so I'm trying to make her work. So anyway, this part is now done. So now we're gonna do the same exact thing with our lining. So I'm gonna move this aside, grab our lining pieces. All right, so I have my lining gusset piece, and now I need one of my lining pieces. So we have two here. I think I'm gonna go with the slip pocket. And I'm gonna find my centers on my gusset because I have not done that. And do the same thing. I'm gonna flip it over, right sides together, and we're gonna line up this bottom edge, and we're going to clip. And I'm gonna clip it in the same way. This is what you should have. Right sides together. This is our right sides, wrong side. So now we're gonna go and sew this on at a 3/8 seam allowance as well, and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. So anyway, all right, so now we're going to move on to the next step, which we will be needing our zipper. We're gonna put the lining aside for just a second and grab our front exterior panel with our gusset on it and our zipper. And you'll need a ruler and a marking pen. And remember to use a marking pen that you do not want to be seen in the end. I'm using vinyl, so I'm using a silver marking pen that does come off of vinyl. So this works very well for vinyl, not on fabrics like a woven of any sorts, cotton. And I don't think it even comes off of canvas. So you might want to make sure you don't use this on those type of fabrics, but vinyl, this is awesome. All right, so let's grab our ruler and our zipper. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna mark 5/8 of an inch in from the right side. So I'm gonna go 5/8 of an inch, which I believe is right there. Line that up with the top right here to make sure I get a nice straight measurement, and that's 5/8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I have to count. And then we're gonna set that aside and our pen. And now we're gonna take our zipper and we are going to flip it right side down. So we have right sides together, and we're gonna line up this zipper tab with that line that we just made. And we're gonna clip. And actually, instead of doing that, I'm gonna do a line of double-sided sticky tape. I just think it's helpful. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do this to help me just kind of keep things nice and straight. All right, so right sides together, line up my zipper end with that line, and then line up your edges. Okay, and then we're gonna go baste this. Technically, I probably don't need to since I have the tape, but I'm gonna go ahead and baste it anyway. So let's go baste this down at the machine and then we'll come back. All right, our zipper is now basted in place. And now we're gonna take our lining piece that has our gusset. So remember, we have just one lining piece with a gusset. The other lining still has nothing. So we're taking the one with the gusset and we're gonna flip it right side down. So you should be seeing your wrong side. And we're going to clip across the top, matching our raw edges. We have that clipped, and now we're going to take this to the machine and sew across the top at a 3/8 seam allowance. All right, so I've gone ahead and sewn right across the top. And so now what we're going to do is that we're going to flip our lining away, and we're going to press that seam and roll out that seam and make sure our zipper is nice and straight. And we're gonna press that seam with wrong sides together. So this is how you should see it. So this is our front, this is our back, and you want to press this seam really well. Place a clip if you have to on the ends. And what we're gonna do now is that we're going to top stitch from this end to this end, and we're going to make sure that we only top stitch within this zipper. So the zipper ends here, but so don't go all the way to the zipper end. Just where you see your zipper, stop here. Don't go to your zipper tab. So from here to here. So we're going to stop right here where our zipper stops. So that is the only spot we are top stitching. So I'm going to go ahead and place a clip here, and I'm going to go top stitch. And while I top stitch, I'm going to make sure I pull at my zipper and make sure it stays nice and straight while I top stitch. All right, let's go do it. All right, the top stitching is now done. I think that's looking very cute so far. I love it. All right, so now we're going to grab our back main panel. So this is my back side, and we are going to do the same thing as we did on the front. So we're going to mark a 5/8 mark from the left side this time, not the right. So we're gonna, from the left side, we're gonna do a 5/8 mark. And make sure it's nice and straight. Grab my marking pen, wherever I put that. And I'm gonna put that right there. I'm going to tuck my D-ring in out of the way. All right, and then we're going to grab our front panel, which now has our other lining on it. Front panel, zipper. So now we're going to flip it right side down, and we're going to align this top edge of our zipper with that mark. So first I'm going to do a line of double-sided sticky tape. So if you want to do this, go ahead. If not, just lay that across the top and clip. We have our back, front, right side down, lining this edge with this edge, and your zipper tab will line up right with that mark. And then we clip in place, or in my case, stick it in place. All right, and now we're going to take this to the machine and baste the zipper down. So our zipper is now basted, and now we're going to grab our remaining lining piece. So this is your remaining lining piece, and we're going to flip it right side down, right on top of this basted zipper. So you should see your other lining piece on top, and your exteriors are on the bottom side. So you want to be looking at this and the section you just basted. So lining right side down, and we're going to line up our edges right along the top, and we're going to clip. We're going to clip all the way across. All right, I have that clipped, and now we're going to go take this to the machine, and we're going to sew across the top at a 3/8 seam allowance. We have sewn down at a 3/8 seam allowance across the top, and now what we're going to do is that we're going to flip this lining away, and we are going to bring up our two exteriors. So now we're going, so these two are now sewn together, right? So this is one side, and this is the side we just sewed, and now we're going to do the top stitching on this side. So we're going to bring our lining and exteriors wrong sides together, just like we did on this side. I'm going to place a clip here to help me, and then just like I did the other side, I'm going to pull my zipper as I top stitch, and we want to open up our flap and have it out of the way while we top stitch. So we want our flap open, so make sure you open up your flap. We're going to be top stitching again within the zipper, so starting right here, right on the other side of your tab, going all the way across and ending right here. So we do not want to go past our zippers or the zipper tab. So let's go ahead and go top stitch this down. We are almost done. All right, so we're done top stitching on this last panel. And now what we're going to do is that we're going to open up our zipper. So I'll close this up just to keep it out of the way. Open up our zipper all the way, and we're going to flip our entire piece over, and what we're going to do is that we're going to join our linings and our exteriors. So lining and exterior, so lining with lining, exterior with exterior. So we're going to clip these together, and we're going to clip all the way to about where the gusset ends right here. You can clip this here just to keep it together, but we're not going to be sewing this section. We're just going to be sewing the gusset section. So let's find our centers and start clipping. So I just start in the middle, go to one side, go to the middle, and go the other way. And we're clipping right to where that gusset ends. So our gusset ends right about here, so we're not going to sew this section yet. We're just sewing up to the gusset. So go ahead and finish clipping the other sides and the lining the same exact way. Okay, so I've gone ahead and clipped all the way around. I did clip the center section, which we will not be sewing just yet, but the only reason why I did that is that I felt it helped me line up everything nicely without the lining bunching. It was bunching up on me mainly because the lining's just so much more flimsier than the vinyl is, so I find it harder to clip sometimes. So I just went ahead, clipped the centers just to help me, but we're not sewing this section. We're just sewing up to where the gusset starts all the way around to the other side and gusset ends. And then we're going to backstitch at start and stop really well, and then we're going to do the same on the lining side, gussets only, where it starts and stops, backstitching start and backstitching while starting the end. So let's go to the machine and get that done now, and then we'll come back and then we'll sew the center sections, And then we will be done. Alright, so I've gone ahead and sewn my lining. There are some pleats in there. Oh well, it is what it is. It's not horrible, but there is some pleating. So it's the lining, so that's okay. You'll barely see it. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna sew our two ends closed, and we're gonna start and stop where our stitching starts and stop. And we're gonna back stitch really well at the beginning and the end, and we are done with this bag. And then we can turn it right side out and see what we got. All right, our bag is completely closed up. Literally, I did not leave my opening down at the bottom to turn the bag through. So that's what happens when I don't mark it. I completely forget. So I'm going to have to rip my stitches out and back stitch really well here and then turn the bag out. So I'm gonna do that real quick. All right, so I pulled my stitches out from here to here. You want to leave yourself a good 5 to 6 inch gap in your lining to turn your bag through. Don't do what I did. So you want to back stitch really well here and here, leaving your hole, and then when you sew your lining, don't sew it shut. All right, so I'm gonna go. Okay, so I got that fixed. I now have a hole to turn my bag through. So let's get this puppy turned out. Okay, I birthed the bag. One thing I realized. So I haven't made a bag that you have to birth, and I don't know how long. It's been a good while. I've been doing a lot of bags that need to be bound. It is my preferred method. So I made a boo-boo when I decided to make a slip pocket on my inner lining, and some of you were probably like, oh, that's not a good idea. Well, that's not. So if you decide to do a slip pocket on the interior of this bag, don't do this type of slip pocket. Do the kind that you stitch on to your lining. You can get a smaller slip pocket that way and stitch it onto the lining. And then that way when you go to close the bottom of your bag, you don't have this problem. So I'm going to have to close the bottom of my bag by stitching across my pocket, which is a vinyl pocket, and you're going to see it. That's okay. I think once it gets tucked into the bag, you won't be able to see it. I think it'll be okay. It's a small bag, so I don't think it'll be too big of a deal, hopefully. I don't know, but this is the only way I'm going to be able to close it. And my boo-boo on making this type of slip pocket. I make these slip pockets a lot in bounded bags, and my brain was on bound bag mode. So that's what I get for not switching it up more often. So we're going to see what this looks like. So I'm putting clips across my opening, and we're going to go sew this shut. Normally this would just be like lining, and it would work out a lot better, but oh well. We're going to make this work. And so I'll grab some snips here, take off some of that thread, and now we're going to go to the machine and sew this shut. And we're going to sew it just at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance right across, and then we can tuck our lining into our bag and we'll be done. All right, I got that sewn shut, so now I'm going to shove the lining back in the bag. We want to poke this corner out here. Not really wanting to poke it. There we go. All right, poke out that corner. Nestle your lining in there. Yeah, that pocket was a bad idea. It's just, it's even way too big for the bag. But it's okay, it works. All right, so we've got our lining in, and bag is complete. So how cute is that? That's a really cute bag. Besides my boo-boo with my slip pocket there, which makes the bag a little thicker on the inside, just kind of because the pocket's kind of big and it's a vinyl pocket. So my bad. If I made that probably the lining, the waterproof canvas, it would have been much better. But still, don't do what I did and don't do that pocket on the inside. But the zippered pocket worked out really well. So super cute. I love it. I love the way it turned out. All right. I love this little bag. So what did you guys think? If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I will try to answer as many as I possibly can. I really love the way that this bag came together. I love all the options that you have to play with color, to play with texture, to play with patterns. I think it's a great little bag to just kind of have a little fun with different types of different types of colors, different types of everything. It's just a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of people making this bag on social media, and they have used everything. I've seen it in all kinds of colors. I've seen it color blocked. I've seen it just one color. It's an awesome little bag, whichever way you decide to make it. It's an easy sew, which is the name of the pattern designer's patterns, and I think I got that right. I don't know, but it is an easy sew. It's not, I wouldn't call it like super beginner by any means, because there is a zipper, there are some curves, there's a gusset. But if you are a beginner and are looking to get more practice in doing gusset zippers and playing with some vinyl even, because this bag is perfect for vinyl, it's a great little bag. And I feel like you make this bag and you feel pretty, you know, like, oh, I accomplished a fun project. And it's not as simple as a boxy bag. We all love our boxy bags, but sometimes it can get a little boring because they are so simple. This is simple enough, but not boring. I think it's a great sew. It kept my attention the entire time, and I absolutely love it. So all of the things that I use in this bag will be in the description box below. I'll try to link everything as best as I can. There are a few things that I don't know where I got them from, like my swivel hooks and my D-rings. Most of my hardware does come from Mormino, but I do have random hardware from other random places, so I'm not really sure where these ones came from, and I don't think these are from Mormino. But for the most part, that is where I get most of my hardware. The snap back here, which is my little magnetic snap, is from Camp Snaps. So I will have everything linked down in the description box below. And if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the comment section. I will try my very best to answer them all. And I would really appreciate if you considered subscribing if you haven't already, and give the video a like, so it lets me know that what I'm doing, you guys are liking it. So, and also if you have any like suggestions and like any patterns that you'd like me to try and put on the channel, put put them down in the box below. I'd love to see what you guys are wanting to see. So let me know. And thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting me, and we'll see you next time. Bye.